In the center of some dimension, we see the icon of yin and yang. Unbalanced, for centuries humans were at the top of all creatures, until the strange appearance of a new genetic structure changed everything. Minor enhancements to strength, durability, and regeneration are just ancillary resources of the Kimyo's DNA. A third of the world's population are those same Kimyos, and this would not be a problem if they had not developed special abilities called abilities. However, most of the abilities are mostly harmless. The ability to control the simplest elements, or control the internal structure, creating and managing various extensions of one's body. In rare cases, change the intracellular structure of the body at one's own will with the possibility of various mutations. But not all abilities are harmless. The immense power of a few members of the elite Kimyos makes many people tremble in horror at their possibility of disappearing, since their power could lead to the final annihilation of the human race. City, Port of Spain. It was night, but the big round moon illuminated everything. Location, Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our 13th night duel. But I know you guys aren't tired at all. No, we can't afford to be tired here on the battlefield with just average levels of pain. The best legal mixed martial arts tournament you can see, his third fight of the night. New human titan from Ember Gym, and his opponent, Deadly Sharp Kimyo, who has 15 wins and 4 losses, is from Salt Lake Gym. The leading man introduced the fighters. He had gold teeth, a gold chain around his neck and dreadlocks on his head. The fighters stood in the corners of the ring. The judge was already ready to start the fight. Man vs. Kimyo. Man vs. Quill. We don't have many battles like this. Due to medical reasons, ha 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 ha. But do not remove the person from the accounts immediately. His 3 victories look promising, am I right? Laughing asked the presenter of the audience. Human? Quill asked in surprise. Having no respect, he looked at the person as a victim. 15 victories behind? What is your feature? Chehart asked himself. The referee started the fight. If you have already entered this octagon, then there is no room for pity. So why don't you come closer, Chehart? The mutant said to the man with an evil look. Kimyo, Quill. Ability. Porcupine. By measuring the elasticity of his muscle fibers, he can stretch them into outward protruding spikes by bending and then hardening the skin that covers the muscle spikes, creating sharp needles. They began to fight. The whole hall was in anticipation of who would lose that night. Virtually no one believed in man. Crap. I wouldn't want to be Kimyo's receiving side. Moms and grandmas, now is the time to turn away. Shouted into the microphone. The mutant carried out attack after attack, but the man could still heal. Come on, Chehart. Show me something. You handled all that defense. Quill was trying to tease and piss off the person. You are covered with thorns. But who will attack such a defense? But it was you who first subsided, the man thought in his mind, holding his fists near his beard. Listen to this. I'll give you a head start. Come on, no needles this time. With a huge smile on his face, the mutant shouted. It's most likely a bait. But it's possible. I can dodge and surprise you when you're open, said the man and hit him in the stomach. The mutant looked at him from above and asked the man if this was all he was capable of. After that, he used his ability, and in place of the ribs, sharp spikes came out of him. There was a man right there, the impudent deceiver. Get up, Chehart. So he can choose a certain point to release the needles whenever he wants. Reliable protection when colliding with an opponent or person. However, the fact that you are not constantly covered with needles, that means only one thing. You can't keep your needles up for too long. I would say 30 to 60 seconds maximum? Asked the man of the monster. It's not bad you got me. Too much stress causes cramps, you know? I'll make it even easier for you. I can only create games in one area at one time, so let's go. Try again. With an evil smile said the monster. You're provoking me a second time, aren't you? The man is like crazy. He is now working with his feet. And where will you release the spikes this time? The man asked himself. He hit the monster. It was his first and good punch. The blow was so strong that Quill's mouth was stretched like chewing gum. What? You're being sloppy, Quill. He's smart enough to hit right. He knows that if he delays his retreat, He will be pierced through. The man jumped up. I wanted to strike from the foot. But the mutant began to smile, and in the moment he thought what an idiot man is, attacking through the jump. It's perfect for monster. He put his hands in defense, and stuck out his spikes. He thought that a person would not be able to change his trajectory of movement right in the air. This was to be the end for the man. The monster should have won. So thought the monster, and the presenter, and all the people who watched it. Chehart managed to get his foot back quickly. In other words, it was a feint. The monster was in shock. Its eyes opened very wide. The ordinary man fell back on 2 legs and prepared for an instant strike. He slammed into the monster's abs with all his might. Most likely, he hit the ribs. From such a blow there should have been something broken in any way. The monster's eyes almost fell out. The man's blow was so strong. You won't believe it! But the man made a second false attack. He swung his left hand and wanted to hit the monster in the face. It all happened in an instant. The master said that he would not repeat this a second time, and he thought that the person really wanted to hit him in the face. But he was deeply mistaken. The monster again stuck out his spikes, but this time on his face. He yelled very loudly. This moment only happened for a second or two, but how many thoughts flew through his head. With a victorious light smile, the man nevertheless makes again a deceptive blow, and with his right hand beats him again in the same place. From these 2 blows, the monster's face was distorted beyond recognition. But he kept saying that he could not lose again. He grabbed the man's hand and this time stuck out the spikes on his belly where the man's fist had been. The spikes were so sharp that they pierced the person's hand without any problems. It was a terrible sight. But just think about how brave the man was. He thought it all out. When the monster took out its sharp spikes on its belly, its jaw opened. And with a big smile on his face, the man hit him in the jaw with all his might. Yes, this is the moment when all the people who looked at this spectacle understood that this fight would go down in history. The man was able to do the impossible. We are shown memories of this battle, all those bright and terrible moments. But an hour later, the man was in the locker room. He sat and wiped the blood from his lips and heard the host shouting into the microphone that it would now be 14-night fight. And as for his fight, it was some kind of madness. All with a small cloth near the wash basin he tried to wipe the blood. While the host was voicing the next guys who will fight, our man was looking at himself in a broken mirror. The entire wash basin was spattered with blood and his body was all scarred with thorns. A second later, guys came in. They were bad. They began to explain to our man that he now has big problems. And the funny thing is that these problems are in the money that this guy bet on the loss of our man. These guys threatened our man to return all the money to a single center. They gave him conditions to give all the winnings for that night to them. And they will let him lick their wounds. And they warned him not to make a hero out of himself, because he does not look very good after the monster worked with him. But our guy is not simple. He told them to close the door before they start. Great, I'm inviting you to your funeral, man, said one of those guys who entered the room and took out a knife. Unfortunately, we will not be shown their fight, but I am sure Chehart won. At that time it was a very bright and large month outside. A little later, the girl at the table was thinking about our winner. She had a crush on him. She was already sad, due to the fact that she could not do anything, because the man was very cute. Chehart went to the place where the girl was sitting and greeted her. Hello Chehart, as always glad to see you. You were incredible today. And don't worry about abrasions. They make you even hotter. Thank you, the man thanked with a tired voice and appearance. You know we always have crazy parties after fights. Therefore, they are once a month. You never came to hang out, damn it. And don't spend time with me, the girl emphasized. Hey, I'm sorry honey, but I have a couple of things to do at home, answered the fighter. Oh wow, okay then. Anyway, here's your prize today. The girl took out several large bills from under the table. What else, darling? If you suddenly get bored, you know where to find me. The girl reminded the guy that he was not indifferent to her. And yes, tell the receptionist that there are 2 battered guys in my locker room. Absolutely no idea what happened there, the guy said jokingly and went to the exit. Late at night, the doors to the bathroom were opened. There was the main character, the same person whose whole body was mutilated. It makes us feel alive. But the reason why the hero endures it is not in vain. He had drugs on the table. Most likely it is something for pain, or to help renew. The next morning, some guy near the car was standing in front of the door. I told you, Tevin, he hung out there with a girl. He is always late, said the girl who was with that guy near the car. I don't think I agree with you, baby. I don't think any woman can take Chehart for more than a day, said the guy. Please speak louder, it's not 6 o'clock in the morning at all. With sarcasm said a fighter with a backpack on his shoulder. Hey, talk to me here again. I've known you for 15 years and you've been living here for 7 years. But none of us have been inside. Bro, are you selling drugs? My grandmother just needs Advil. Advil is an analgesic, anti-inflammatory, antipyretic. Get your ass in the car already, come on. We shouldn't be late, Chehart. They arrived at the hall. The girl said that they should return at 4. The guy thanked the girl for giving them a ride. This is our club. Me and my guys from the club, we're not from rich families. This old man right in front of us is my master Leo Thomas. He is a war hero. The danger to people's lives that the Kimios represented caused a war 61 years ago. People against Kimio. More innocents have died than anyone is willing to admit. But more on that later, I promise. This old man is still alive. His skills are top-notch. Although he is old, he still has a lot to teach young guys. Master Leo is like a father to us. There is no better teacher. He treats us like his own sons. If your ability is speed, then being predictable means only one thing: you're using it completely wrong, the teacher said, and when the boy wanted to beat him quietly again, he calmly stopped his fist, and then he looked with a frightening look and hit him, encouraging him to once again listen to the teacher carefully. You are all unique. What makes each of you special? That is, your abilities are one of a kind, encoded in a special way in your individuality. If you fail to perfect your unique differences, the gift that sets you apart from others, you will become an ordinary human fighter. Use what you have, or lose it. The coach said these words and at the same time showed his skills to the student. His last blow was very strong. The guy was already cast a few meters. This was seen by our hero with his friend, who had just entered the hall. But seriously, bro? When the master sees your battered face, it will be so intoxicating to watch him kick your ass for the fights. With a smile on his face said a friend of the fighter. What are you saying, Tevin? Your girlfriend leads you by the nose, child. The protagonist replied with a smile. Don't give up, my son. 2 again. The coach repeated to the overweight boy. Yes, master, the boy answered with a distorted face. As you can see, guys, Azam volunteered to be the first. TSK, and such a bright future awaited the poor fellow. By the way, Chehart, the master mentioned something like the need to talk to you when you arrive. And judging by your face, I hope you wrote a meeting, said the guy sitting next to the main character. You are enough for today, Azam, you are free, rest. We will work on attack tactics later, the teacher said to the lying, overworked guy. With a mysterious smile called the coach of the protagonist. I can't help it, man, you remember I'm a baby. Hee laughing said a friend of the fighter. And in our hero already the smile was gone, sweat went all over his face. Chehart went to the ring to the coach. He didn't even know what to say to him. You did it again, Chehart. Fight behind my back when I specifically forbade it. You're human, yet what do you think about when you go to fight against Kimio, whose abilities exceed yours? And then what, huh? Look at your wounds. I can't lose another son, the trainer said to the fighter in a displeased voice and hit him on the cheek. You're not an underground fighter, are you? Why are you so careless? Let's start. The coach wanted to finish speaking, but he heard someone enter the hall. All the guys sitting on the mats turned to face the entrance. A man slowly but surely entered the room. Why such seriousness, Leo? The coach glared at the man. I bet you expected to never see me again. Rokash Ramprasad. This narcissistic guy is a big deal in Trinidad. He recently entered the top 150 recorded strongest in the world. God, this fact stuck in his head, and therefore his arrogance made him the most hated guy in the country. The man greeted him with a laugh. The old coach was still glaring at him with an evil look. With surprise, our hero approached the coach. They didn't expect to see him here. Master, do you know this jerk? No one is allowed inside the dojo during training. He obviously didn't read this at the entrance. Maybe illiterate? You are not welcome here, Rokash. Together with all the guys, they lined up near the coach and looked at the guests with angry faces. That's not the best way to say hello to your favorite former student, teacher. Chu is an expression used in escalation. Chehart was in great perplexity. He understood that something was about to happen. Teacher? The protagonist said in an exciting voice. He said, "Get out." You are deaf? A friend of the protagonist said with a cry. Damn, shut up. The guy who came with Rokash told him in response. What did you say, kid? Haha. You guys have a spark. How about a little sparring? Said the same wanderer who entered the hall. You still haven't changed. Enough about it. The coach shouted furiously, so much so that fire even went from him. Everything was on fire. Our main character was in a big misunderstanding when he saw such a master. This is no longer your home, Rokash. I won't repeat myself. You will not slowly leave. 25 years have passed since I entered this old place. You speak as if you are at the height of your power, Kimios, Leo Thomas, and yet you have no idea what true power is. The man turned around and was about to leave. You acknowledge my power before you die, old man, and it might happen sooner than you think, said the man, threatening the old man. Later that evening, the main character was cleaning the room. The old man was dragging pears, and the main character was watching this and was in anticipation of what was happening. Are you okay, master? Who the hell does he think he is if he threatens you like that? What happened between you and Rokash? Sigh, he was my old student many years ago. His arrogance kept him from really progressing anywhere. But the terrible truth is, he was one of my strongest. The dojo was small back then. 4 guys is all we had. Rokash was so adamant about proving his strength that he constantly challenged others. You see, besides his vanity, Rokash's problem was that he never understood the seriousness that comes with fighting. The animal side of his talent would come out, and he would start joking and smirking. One day behind my back he challenged a young man named Jacob, one of the top Kimios in the class. This fight was a mistake from the start. I don't know what he was trying to prove, but he killed Jacob. There was a big investigation and everything. He left the dojo after he was acquitted, manslaughter, as they called it. Since then he has not returned. Wow, he got away with it. Stupid, I would kick his ass if he ever came here again. Oh. Look how my little human boy is threatening, the coach said with a smile on his face. Ha ha ha. Whatever it is, old man, this time your students had your back. Of this I am sure. So, let me finish the cleaning today. I know you have your usual chores to attend to, the old man said with a proud smile. Our main character came to the doctor. Oh yes, Mr. Chehart. In general, I'm glad to see you still safe and sound, said the doctor who came into his room. Hello doctor, how are you? Asked the guy. Work has gotten a little hectic these days, you know, the usual bar fight, but with Kimios. Haha. God has been really good to me no matter what, so no complaints, answered the doctor. Juliana will have her 6th child. Can you believe it? With a sincere smile, the doctor said to the guy. Let's see, as usual, I gave you all your recommendations. I also added a new drug called amoxicillin. This bad boy should help with internal bleeding, once a day, as usual, said the doctor, and was looking for something in the package. Is there any improvement in the left eye? Still a little dim, doctor. I'd say I can only see at 60% power. With a sad face said the hero. Chehart, the doctor called the hero in a calm voice, taking off his glasses. As a doctor and father, please take my advice. I can do my best to provide you with all the medicines you need, but I can't force you to stop what you do in your free time. Your body is stronger than a normal person. Yes, I'm guessing it's due to your training trainer. But you're still lucky to be alive. You can't hide it from your friends and family forever. Pain and discomfort will show up whether you like it or not. Your lab results are still the same. A punctured lung that has still not been given time to recover. Fractures of both collarbones and a bruised shoulder joint. Severe tissue and muscle scarring. Nerve damage in the right arm, damage to the left optic nerve, a broken rib and 7 screws in the ankle. And the internal bleeding still hasn't subsided. Chehart, is Fight Club money really worth it? Your body is on edge, young man. You keep going too far. Your whole life is in front of you. I'm worried that you are reducing it more and more every day. Worrying about the main character, the doctor told him. Dr. Evan, I really appreciate your concern for me, but I still have some fire left in me. In addition, the money will go to a very good cause. You said it yourself. I'm tough for a man. Ha ha ha. The main character joked a little to defuse the situation. Very well, Mr. Chihart. The doctor answered him with kind eyes and good intention. But he really cared about the main character. You tell me if you need anything at all. The doctor warned with a smile. Thanks again, Dr. Evan. I must say you look quite healthy, sir. Is your wife still forcing you to do this yoga? The guy joked. No. I have chosen a much more masculine form of exercise, the doctor answered enigmatically. The doctor shouted and stood up. It was a beautiful demonstration of their skills. Take care of yourself, Mr. Chihart, and you will grow old and live as happy as I am. The doctor said to the hero, with a hint that he needs to stop fighting. Later that night, the old man was sitting in his study reading some book. Someone tried to go to him and pulled the doorknob. The old man heard this and sighed. There were two of them. This is the same guy who came to his hall during the day. He tried to enter without noise, but he failed. You really haven't changed, said the coach without even turning to them. Behind the old man, the evil Rokash stopped and looked at him with a very angry look. At this time, our main character was talking to his friend on the phone. I just feel so awkward leaving the master like this to close the dojo himself. Bro, Rokash threatened him, said the main character. Rokash is a rich idiot, but he's not stupid enough to try to kill the man who made him who he is, right? Answered a friend. Yes, I think you are right. I'll go check it out first thing in the morning. The fighter warned with great excitement. Chihart, look man, I know master is like a father to you, but don't stress, he'll be fine. Bro now, please, can I leave? Or you will summon the wrath of the beast on my chest. His friend said with a smile, hinting that his girlfriend was waiting for him. Now I'm taking my man back. Could not stand it, and said the same girl to the main character. At this time, something had already happened in the hall. It was all on fire. The room in which the coach was all on fire, and the coach himself at that moment stood confidently as if nothing had happened opposite Rokash. For some reason, Rokash himself fell to his knee. But still, something happened that cannot be returned back. The coach was shot right in the stomach. I hate being old. Am I really too weak to avoid firearms now? The coach asked. The guy who fired was standing there. I don't know what to say, he was very excited. And why did he just do it? He held a pistol in his right hand. He was filled with fear. Where did you get this gun from? You're an idiot? I told you he was mine to finish him off. You won't deprive me of this. Angry Rokash turned to the guy. It turns out the guy got into a fight, but Rokash himself wanted to kill the coach. The guy who shot the coach didn't know what to say. He had a lot on his mind at the time. Turns out Rokash was this guy's uncle. Watch out, boy. The uncle shouted very loudly to the boy. At this time, all in a bright fire and rage, the coach rushed to this guy. It turns out that the trainer was not an easy person. He used the ability of the Phoenix Spear. He hit the guy with all his might so that he flew off to the next wall and literally broke through it. The guy dropped a gun. In a very big rage, the coach turned to Rokash. So this is how you raise your nephew? Can you at least begin to realize the responsibility? The coach asked very angry. You talk about responsibility like you understand it, old man. You refuse to acknowledge my strength, even after I put this failed dojo on the map. There has never been a stronger student in this place. Jacob didn't even come close to my progress. If he knew he couldn't handle me, this fool would never accept my challenge. Rokash replied with an even more ferocious face. You will never say his name again. The old man said and looked at Rokash with a mysterious expression. Oh, this wound will kill me. You have succeeded in cultivating a corrupt mind in your nephew. With everything I had, I tried for you. Not only as a student, but also as a son. But somehow you seem to go beyond reasoning. The coach shouted all on fire. Tonight I will correct my mistakes. At that moment, the coach was no longer recognizable. He had not been so angry for a long time. The coach started to run to the evil guy. He provoked him even more. Kimio, Leo Thomas. Talent, Elio's Phoenix Flame. The user enters the Elio state. Sunfire talent, one of the original Great Four talents. The coach brutally began to attack. He struck blow after blow. Rokash's body glowed in some blue stripes. The old man was very skillful in striking. He hit every time. Rokash wanted to hit the old man, but the old man got smart and hit back on the ribs. The blow was so powerful that blood came out of the enemy. The old man was very fast. He grabbed the evil guy and threw him high. The trainer knew how to do an air attack. Rokash was angry. The old man did not let him activate his power. The trainer approached the guy and once again applied the ability. She was like the impulse of the wind. The old man again caught up with the evil guy and used the falling meteor ability. This spectacle was incredible. I am already too old to heal such wounds. You knew that with age my strength weakens. Congratulations, you separated me from death by a few seconds, but as for you, Rokash. The old man looked at him and thought of something. They stood opposite each other, one at one end of the hall, the other at the other end. The coach looked at him and literally in a second was at his side. As I die, I will make sure you live the rest of your days crippled, he said, and at that moment swung at his eye. Rokash fell to the floor from the great pain, and the old man with a sad face crouched down with his eye torn out in his hand. Rokash screamed very much. I don't even know how to describe this pain. After all, he had just been torn out of his eye. The boy who shot the coach began to shout, Hey hey! Get up! The building is already collapsing on its own. We must go now. He began to drag his uncle. It's your damn grave, old man, shouted to the old man Rokash with one eye. The old man at that moment was sitting in the middle of the hall. He did not want to get out of there. Everything started to fall apart. There was a lot of smoke from the fire outside. After some time, our main character stood in a suit and buried his coach. It was raining outside. Many people came to pay their respects to such a wonderful person. We have gathered here today to cry the death of Leo Thomas. Great man. He asked for this little meeting in case of his passing. He made a name for himself with his extraordinary abilities, even though he refused to acknowledge his own glory. Regardless of this fame, it was his kindness and compassion that stood out to all who knew him. From the point of view of this world, Leo Thomas was a flame of power, but we, his friends, consider his true splendor to be love. We know that Rokash did this. We all want revenge. Sitting here on your riders will not solve anything. Another guy turned to the fighter. I've been looking around and Rokash is having a tournament next month to celebrate his place in the top 150 worldwide. The winner gets to go head-to-head with him. His sick prize idea. We want you to go represent our gym, Red Coals, Chehart. Each group can only include 2 participants for battles. Added the guy. I'm the only one of us who has no talent. What's the point? The fighter answered them. You don't care. And it's not a pointless sequel, Chehart. Being human has never limited you. The master has always recognized you as the smartest when it comes to fighting among us. And you will not be alone. I will be next to you, his friend answered him. Then very well. Once we agree on a common goal, then we will begin. The fighter said with an evil look. He was ready to start revenge. Rokash sat on a chair and remembered all those moments that happened in the hall. He was very angry, realizing that the old man did not let him hit him even once. Welcome to the Rokash Enterprise Battle Stadium. At that moment, all the guys from the old man's hall were standing in the stadium. There are a lot of people here. Everyone loves to watch fights. I've already booked a locker room for you too. All you need to do now is sign up and you're in business. The first day of the event, several strong fighters are the first to fight to gain views, said one of the guys. Tevin, you're beating 7th, and Chehart, beating 8th. Tevin Matthias Charles, you have to be careful. The girl turned to the guy. She was very worried about this tournament. Today we take a look at the tournament organizer Central Man plus Kimio's mixed martial arts. Rokash Ramprasad, local sensation Kimio's, they said on TV. All the guys turned to look at him with an evil look. The same man from Trinidad and Tobago's, the first Kimio to enter the top 150 strongest fighters in the world. Now 61-year-old millionaire is nothing but a child prodigy. With the exception of his questionable past incident with the police, Rokash has amassed a secure fortune and fame for himself. In his MMA career, Rokash has won 47 wins and lost 3. In 37 years he has acquired 8 properties around the world. Along with his own hotel, Ramprasad Tower, several pro racing permits, and his own clothing line. Rokash, our own miracle baby. We all extend our deepest condolences to Mr. Ramprasad as we did 4 months ago. The entire nation was forced to mourn the death of his former mentor, legend and war hero Leo Thomas. If only they knew what that bastard Rokash did. Disgusting, the fighter said with displeasure. Martial arts competition has been reimagined with the integration of Kimyo's members, and Rokash Ramprasad spares no expense in hosting MMA events in its home of Trinidad and Tobago, creating opportunities for local talent to shine. Power cannot be faked. You either have it or you don't. However, for those who do, the line between mediocrity and great power is drawn by the blood of those who have neglected the absolute gap. Strong words from one of the world's number 97, the strongest Kimyo to date. And if you asked me about his latest battle scar, which makes this man twice as dangerous as previously thought, I've heard enough already. We're moving out now, Chehart said with a very angry expression and a hood on his head. So what's our plan? Asked the main fighter to the guys. They were already in the locker room. Don't die in your first fight. This is a brutal context tournament. Opponents are allowed to kill each other to instantly win the round. Brutal context tournaments are a 21+ rated MMA competition where fatal injuries are encouraged. Because the talents are too lethal to limit kills in the arena. Stupid, the master would have killed us for participating in this tournament. I didn't even tell my girlfriend that it was a rating brutal context. In any case, I think I'll be the first, said a friend of the protagonist. Ladies and gentlemen, our 4th match of the night. The leading man who stood in the center of the ring said at the microphone. We have Tevin from the east. Good luck, baby, shouted his girl. At that moment, his opponent came out of the locker room. He was wearing a mask and some kind of bandage on his head. Sunraz. Untouched. That was the name of this guy. Although he was smaller in size, he stood very confidently. Kimyo, whose speed is unmatched. As a result, Sunraz has never been injured in his MMA career. I'm watching Tank vs Speedster. I love their taste. With a big smile on his face, our fighter said to himself, to which the other guy just kept silent. I know you, man. You are one of the fastest Kimyo, right? Well, actually I'm one of the coolest. Honestly, in order to move me, it takes a lot, so let's arrange. Our fighter wanted to finish, but his opponent did not listen to him, and in a second his leg was near the head of our fighter, Mr. Rokash. May I offer you something, sir? A young guy turned to Rokash. Rokash was silent. He was sitting on a chair in some red room and thought a lot about something. Listen carefully. Everyone has failed trying to test me, and you will be no exception, said the enemy to our fighter. At this time, our fighter flew off a few meters from the opponent's blow. Sunraz had a talent, the threshold of image fusion. Master of speed talent. Our fighter was very angry. He wanted to deliver a powerful blow to the enemy, but he quickly reacted and dodged the blow. He even managed to hit our guy in response from his knee. You must be laughing at me, our fighter shouted. The enemy used his ability. He made several clones of himself. Within a second, our fighter was honed by 3 opponents. Sunraz, untouched. I have heard of him as a brother whose talent for speed is called image fusion threshold. The vortex created by his movements gives him just enough time to materialize, creating duplicates of himself, said one of our guys who watched the fight. Raise your defenses, Tevin. You're an out-of-breath tank. The protagonist began to shout to our fighter. He was beaten, but he raised his defense. He screamed to himself that he could handle it. He asked for another hit, and another. Our fighter began to accumulate strength. Small spikes began to protrude from his skin, and strange small lightnings appeared. He shouted to the enemy not to dare to underestimate him. His eyes were huge and yellow. There was a big outbreak. The enemy was at a loss as to what was going on. Our fighter has turned into a big rhino. A huge horn protruded from his head. Kimyo, Tevin Matthias Charles. Talent. Hidden forgery, the ability to create a protective shell that enhances defensive and offensive capabilities. This time our fighter was ready to attack. He was very calm and at the same time looked very menacing. His opponent was still at a loss. He asked himself what kind of talent it was. Our fighter tried to hit him, but he still managed to get the hell out of it. Tevin reveals his talent after getting hit. Awesome! The elusive rhinoceros skin appears. With this type of talent, the self-generating shell encases the user in a protective shell and hide. This grants the wearer a number of enhanced special power attributes associated with it. The game starts. This skin makes me so much stronger, Sunraz warned our enemy fighter. Sunraz again wanted to attack our fighter with 3 of his clones. There's no way I can match him in speed, in fact I'm even slower with all that added weight. Our fighter thought. The enemy quickly ran up to our fighter, and in a jump from his knee hit him in the jaw. You must be mocking me, our fighter shouted. His attacks pierced the armor of our fighter. You're taking too many hits, Tevin. Find his weak point, now. What did the teacher teach us? The main character shouted. Talents are just a smoldering flame inside a person. They can either be nurtured or extinguished. Flames have enemies, just like kindling. Sometimes the huge power of talent, on the other hand, can also be his biggest downfall. This hidden spark is known as the talent blind spot. The coach spoke to our fighters. Our fighter again tried to swing, but everything happened too quickly. He did not have time to invent something. Each time the enemy was one step ahead. Sunrise again ran to our guy, but this time our fighter ran to meet him at the same speed. He kicked the floor so hard that it shattered into pieces. The enemy did not expect such a turn. Tevin turned the tide of battle in his favor. He grabbed his opponent by the neck and swung hard at him. You may have been given speed, but I was given power. Our fighter shouted with all his might and hit his opponent so that he flew very far. Everyone was surprised. The host who was holding the microphone could not believe his eyes. All the people who were sitting in the hall suddenly calmed down, and our main character was delighted. The host joked when he said that our fighter is testing the strength of their protective barrier. After all, the enemy was unconscious. Tevin turned back into a man with a proud face and a smile. 2 guys with a stretcher ran up to the enemy and picked him up. Our fighter was already in the locker room hugging his girlfriend, and behind was our main character who was sincerely happy about the victory. And another of our guys shouted at the whole hall about the victory. Chehart went to prepare for battle. He was next. To be honest, I'm worried, Tevin. Chehart is never that serious. The whole plan is just to expose Rokash. However, I'm afraid to see Chehart's reaction when he comes face to face with him. One of our guys said. The whole crowd was on emotions. They rejoiced like little children. And the next one. Our next fight. Chihir versus Nanaku. They have been paired up based on their previous tournament results. Through their careers representing their respective gyms, they have both made names for themselves. The leader shouted into the microphone. Man fighter Chehart. Yes, I said man. His fighting wisdom is reflected in his skill. And, ladies and gentlemen, a mutant fighter. Nanaku. His gym participates only in brutal context tournaments. This speaks volumes. Our main fighter looked at his opponent with an angry and mysterious expression. I'm angry. His opponent said to our fighter, a tournament where I'll show my talent to the whole world. They're embarrassing me, forcing me to fight a goddamn boy with no talent. Simultaneously upset and angry, said the mutant. It looked like some kind of fish or lizard. It didn't have a nose, but it had a lot of teeth, sharp like those of a fish. Whatever, after you die, man, I'll just move on to the next fight. Nanaka said with great confidence. The guys got ready. They both stood in the center of the ring. The enemy started laughing, saying that this was some kind of joke. Our main fighter said not to stand in his way. Rokash, who was watching all this in his office, thought that our fighter looked familiar. The duel began. The fighter stood up. The mutant was the first to strike and waved his hand. Chehart repulsed his first attack, but the mutant also managed to grab the man's arm. Our hero wanted to kick the mutant from a roundabout, but he put up a defense. All our guys supported him and looked forward to the fight. Your boy Nanaku, who is he? A staff shark or a hidden talent user? One of our guys asked the opponent's coach. Your questions will be answered soon, he replied with a smile. Get hot, man. A mutant turned to our guy. The battle continued. They took turns throwing blows, but they were almost all blocked. They both did well, But let's not forget that a man without talents. They grabbed hands and tried to push each other. You thought you were going to die a better death than this. I'd be pissed too, haha. I've killed more than you've seen, Chehart. You will die like everyone else. With the shame of fear imprinted on your face, the fighter no longer wanted to listen to him, and, in a jump from 2 legs, hit the mutant. Ha ha ha. The prey always resists. The monster answered the blow of the man. How about we become serious people? He tore off his clothes and became even stronger. Our fighter told him that he was interfering with his mission. Are they equal to each other? One of our guys asked. Do you really believe that a human can match Kimio's killing machine? With an even bigger smile, the monster trainer asked back. Nanako was born for war. Mortal Kombat is his true element. Just wait for the first blood. The mutant again began to swing at the fighter, but he managed to get away. Our main character had a high combat technique. He really was smart. When the mutant swung at him, he constantly sneered and beat back. But at one point, Nanako managed to grab Chehart by the neck. He looked at the man with a big evil smile and began to growl. The mutant wounded our fighter for the first time. He made an incision on his body. The guys who watched this fight were shocked. They saw a lot of blood of our fighter. It's only beginning, the monster trainer said with a modest smile. Nanako knew no bounds for the joy he felt. Man shed first blood. Let's show people the Chehart show. Shed blood for me, the mutant said with a big smile on his face. The fighter grabbed the wound. It was large and therefore brought discomfort. Right through my vest? She's on fire. Hold on. You just have to get through to the next round with sweat on his face, he said to himself. You're interfering with the family business, fish boy. The man shouted to the mutant and waved his fist. Nanako dodged the blow. You seem surprised, boy. And first, with his hand, he hit the main character in the face and then, in a jump, hit him from his foot. The blow was accurate and strong. The man flew far away from such power. Even more blood spilled in the ring and our guy could not stand up from fatigue. You most likely will not be surprised. But the mutant bent down to human blood and began to lick it. It was disgusting, and crawled around the ring to him, licking the blood from the floor. I can't seem to decide. Is your head on the top or your heart in a jar? This fight is getting crazy. Our fighter finds the strength to get up and continue to fight off the mutant. The whole crowd was on emotions. It was still not clear who she was rooting for. Our fighter began to miss blow after blow. A wound appeared on his face, then on his leg, and on his shoulder, and on his arm. The more you bleed, the less you will breathe, the mutant said with a big smile. Lewis, what is this? One of our guys asked. This looks bad, Chehart. Look up, boy. Find your blind spot now. His friend began to shout. He, you look worried. Rhinoceros boy, don't waste your time, boy. The hunting grounds are a sight to behold, the mutant trainer said, and it's Nanako hunting Chehart. Another of our guys said with a sad face. As soon as Nanako draws first blood, he's already won, said the mutant and turned into an even more terrifying monster. At that moment, everyone opened their mouths wide. Especially the presenter with a microphone and a friend of our fighter were even more shocked by what they saw. While the blood of our hero is pouring, his instincts overwhelm him. More wanted blood. We must stop this. Come on, said one of our guys who also watched it all. It's too late, damn it. Behold. In the same rage as the monster, his trainer told the guys. Nanako bloody mad hunter. His talent, blood madness. The smell of human blood, or Kimio blood, causes Nanako to experience an uncontrollable physical evolution. Then Nanako enters a hunter state, which makes him an accomplished killing machine. You must be mocking me, said the best friend of our hero, and the crowd continued to rejoice, and all for one were rooting for the monster. The uncontrollable Nanako began to growl and look at our fighter with a creepy look. Are you serious? Chihir asked in dismay. Rokash at that moment, watching the outcome of the battle, expected the monster to win. Am I the only one who still cares about the person? It was already close and not like equal forces. In front of a man was a shark with human limbs. The mutant was much taller and more powerful than a human. Luis, I don't like how this coincidence looks. Nanako is a state talent user. His blind spot would be the lack of blood. But regardless of Chihir, the battlefield is covered in the blood of previous fighters. Talent type, condition. One of the rarest types of talents, state talents allow the user to enter a state or mode where, as long as the user remains in that mode, they are granted access to special attributes. This explains why he looked like a shark from the start. The mutant jumped high above the man and landed beside him. The floor at that moment just shattered into pieces and the man fell. The mutant evolved before the match even started. The man got to his feet and continued to fight. He was smart and fast. He managed to land a few hits for the shark, but they were very weak for him. From these blows, the shark only smiled. Our hero was at a loss and did not understand what to do. "Prey always moves so fast," said the monster. "I can smell their blood everywhere." Kimio, and now a human. The man managed to get behind the shark. He grabbed her with his hands, making a grip. It was the man's last chance. "We'll end this now," the main character said and raised the shark. He managed to throw her with a deflection. "This guy has incredible powers." Our hero tried to stand up while the shark was lying in the ring. Proudly shouted a friend of the fighter. "Doesn't nature show you, Che-Heart, that the booty is never the winner?" The mutant shouted and grabbed the guy by the hand. He knocked him over. Now the guy was lying and the shark was on top. The mutant grabbed the man by the hair and began to beat his head on the floor. The people in the hall were all quiet. They were in anticipation. The best friend of our hero with his girlfriend lowered their heads. They were very worried about their friend. "And what are you going to do now, Che-Heart?" mentally asked Rokash, and all in anticipation continued to watch the fight. "This is the result of your many years of delusions. Look at it. You're laughing at my skill." The monster lifted the boy's head and said to him, "Let his blood be on your hands. I will kill every person who is confident enough to compete with Kimio's." He held his head and swung his fist. From such a powerful blow right on the head, our hero flew off several meters. I don't know if he was still alive. "Power, it can't be faked. You either have it or you don't," the monster said when he approached the recumbent fighter. "However, for those who do, the line between mediocrity and great power is drawn by the blood of those who have neglected the absolute gap." "Stop the fight!" shouted a friend of our fighter. "Watch your friend die," the shark trainer replied with a smile. "Do you hear the silence, boy? I'm using your corpse as a stepping stone. So I'll stain this floor with your blood. But enjoy, ha 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 ha. I am also known for my compassionate heart. I will be merciful to give you a quick death. Stop this damn fight. Hey! Open the gate!" the friends of our hero shouted. "I decided, Che-Heart. Your head will hang on my wall." "Ha ha!" said the crazy mutant. "To think, I was wondering that you might be related to the legend of Heart. But you're certainly a disappointment, damned to bear his name," Rokash said to himself. The shark started running towards the guy. She opened her big mouth wide. It was a terrible sight. You look at her teeth. This is a very dangerous predator. Our main fighter stood still in place. They were afraid for a while. A lot of thoughts flew through him in a second. Is he really going to die in this ring? There was some kind of fire nearby. It was not clear what was happening, but in a second everything was on fire. Is this where I die? The hero asked himself desperately. I can't stop now. Not yet. Never. He spoke to himself, and at that time a man from the fire appeared in the distance. He looked like our dead coach. He shone brightly from the fire. He had a big beard and hair, but they were also made of fire. There was a big outbreak in the ring. It was so big and bright that from the ring it began to spread throughout the hall. Our fighter's friends were shocked. And not only friends. The shark trainer did not understand what was happening at all. He was very angry. There was a barrier wall in the ring. It held back the fire so that it would not be sprayed all over the hall. But the fire was so powerful that the wall could not stand it. It was like some kind of bomb, as if it had exploded in the center of the ring. One of our fighters began to use his talent to save a crowd of people. Some magic came from behind him. He began to pray to his powers, and in a second there was already a large ashy wall in front of him that held back the fire. Kimio, Lewis Hemlock. Talent, Ashes of the Fathers. This guy tried very hard. Black veins appeared on his body. The crowd could not believe their eyes and rejoiced that he was able to stop the flames. There was another explosion. Some girl was standing next to the food and didn't know what to do from fear. Well, at that moment, another of our guys appeared. He had an ability speed. He grabbed the girl and started to run away. At that time, our protagonist's best friend also applied his talents and turned into a rhinoceros. He stood with his back to the fire, covering his girlfriend and some other guy. He turned to face the ring and asked the guys if they saw this. It was a rhetorical question. Everyone was just shocked at the time. These flames, our friend said mysteriously. The same as the master, added another friend. The shark at that moment, which fought with our hero, hid behind a large stone from the ring. She did not expect to see the fire, and like all of us, you signed up for this tournament as a human. You are a cheater. You said you have no talent. You mocked me then and you mock me now. I'll eat you and rip your limbs off. But after a second, she saw something strange to her. She even went under on the face, although I do not know if it can be in sharks. And as we all guessed, it is not clear why we were shown an old man who looked like an old coach. But it was our main character. He seemed to be reborn. He became much bigger and more confident. His mouth and eyes were on fire and his hair was on fire. From the fire, our fighter burned his skin. In some places it simply did not exist. And with a little fear, he said that he did not feel anything. Everyone in the hall was shocked. With big eyes and open mouths, they looked at our fighter. What is this power? The hero began to ask himself and look at his hand.
It's impossible! Yelled the shark, who obviously did not expect that.
It was as if I was reborn, our hero said, and looked at the shark with a confident look. You little bastards. I'm not amused, whatever it is. I tasted your blood. And she was human. This power you're flaunting right now doesn't change anything. I will kill you slowly. The shark shouted and ran to our guy. I watched the fight from a cafe. What kind of flame was that? A guy who had just entered the hall asked with a pizza in his mouth. Everyone started watching the fight. The shark trainer was very scared. He told the mutant to run away from there. I told him not to approach our guy. But he didn't listen to him. I wonder when you burn, will your flesh turn to ashes? Our fighter said with a serious face. Sir Rokash, shouldn't you stop the fight? Your guess. They're not safe. These flames look like the flames of the war hero Leo, said the guy who served Rokasha. Rokash squeezed the chair on which he was sitting out of anger and nerves. The protagonist's friends started yelling at him not to do this. The shark approached our hero and was ready to bite him, with the words that he should die. The evil Chehart confidently held out his hand and said that the shark would die first. Our main fighter just showed his talents. He became Kimio. The talent that was bestowed upon him was called Phoenix Flame. The user enters the Leo state. Called the Solar Fire talent, it is one of the original Great Four talents. The guy used his power against the shark and with a large stream of fire threw it away. Despite it all, I should have seen a red sign. Painted red with the blood you're about to shed, but how could I know? Comrade, brother in spirit, my best friend. On this day you took your first step over the edge. I should have extended a helping hand to you even more insistently. Forgive me, Chehart. Apparently, these words for Chehart were spoken by someone in his head. Chehart approached the shark. There was no living place on it. She just burned alive. The whole crowd in the hall could not look at it. Some were in shock, some turned around with their eyes closed. Friends stared at the ring. They didn't believe their eyes. To this day, I still regret that I could not save you. Then I regretted that I did not tell you that this was not your fault, and it wasn't your burden to bear. But how was I to know that you would become one of the greatest enemies of mankind? Said the same voice for Chehart. He dropped to his knee. His body instantly healed from the wounds of the fire. He had no clothes left. Chehart. His friend called out his name. He ran towards him with his jacket. Bro. Your wounds? Are you alright? A friend of the hero asked, and gave him his jacket to cover himself. I can endure. I am the most challenged. My body is like being torn apart, and then sewn back together. Our hero answered. What the hell, dude? Since when did we become murderers? The guy asked indignantly. Chehart did not know what to answer. His eyes filled with tears. He had great sadness. At this time, an explosion occurred in the room where Rokash was sitting. The window from which he was watching shattered into smithereens. The film crew started filming it, and wondered if it was Rokash's room. Do you think it alarmed him? A friend asked the main character. Let's, Chehart said confidently. He was ready to see the killer of his teacher. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. I think Rokash might have had an accident, said the host at the microphone. The main fighter looked closely and saw Rokasha. Chehart, right? Leo is the best? Rokash began to shout. He used his abilities therefore, and there was an explosion in the room. The old man gave you his talent? Rokash asked with a big smile and bewilderment. All this was filmed by a film crew. I'll let you say his name, our main fighter said with anger. I remember both of you. Furious wolves. On the side of your master. Ha ha ha, he chose you? Rokash asked mockingly. Both fighters looked at him with an evil look, wanting to kill him. Leo Thomas, you're very good, old man. Ha! After your death, did you manage to find a receiver? This weak man? Have you brought Leo's talent back into the world? Ha, whatever. Rokash started laughing even more. I will kill you as easily as I killed your master. At that moment, the film crew and all the people in the audience were shocked by what they heard. They thought that the master was killed by someone else. Rokash, you're an idiot, said some guy who was on the Rokasha team. One of our guys got excited because Rokash finally got caught. Are you here to avenge your dad? If I erase you, I will erase his legacy. You plan to win, and then what to do? Hold me accountable? Brilliant move, boss. You just confessed live, said the guy next to Rokash. Rokash looked at the camera. A second later, the police burst into the hall. Chief Inspector of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Ian Anthony Hoff. Is this a joke, Rokash? You hired us to secure this event while you are the criminal we are looking for? You kill Leo Thomas, throw a party to celebrate, and then make us guard you? Angry asked the policeman. We can't kill the cops, they're still filming, said Rokasha's friend. The policeman pointed a gun at Rokasha and shouted to him that he was under arrest. Jean-Louis Honoré, get away from your boss now. The policeman shouted. Take a breath, just stand behind me, said Jean-Louis Honoré to his boss and started covering for him. Jean-Louis Honoré, this is our final warning. Move away from Rokasha immediately. The police shouted. We'll see you again, baby. But even with your precious hero blood, you're still nothing, Rokash said smiling. No more warnings. Stand back, both of you, or we'll shoot. Jean-Louis Honoré began to transform with a smile. He had a talent devil parasite. It creates moldable metal material protruding from the body. The metal is a membrane embedded in his body like a parasite. Rokash, the main character, mysteriously called the name. At that moment, one girl from the film crew heard this and started filming. I would pray that the system would find you before we did. You ended the life of the man who raised us. What makes you think that life will go on? You made your last mistake, Chehart said. He was shown on the main screen at that moment. Run, Rokash. If you kill a wolf, don't forget to kill his children too, for we will pursue you to your grave, said the main character along with his friends. 4 months later, Rokash has been hiding all this time. He is constantly on the run from the authorities. He's in no position to negotiate with him. After his brilliant and elaborate escapade, the world now knows the killer of one of its heroes. People now live in fear of Kimio again, after a famous fighter uses his talent outside of a legal place, killing a civilian. You would live in fear too. How do we look at the current ban on Kimio? What are the implications? A total ban on the use of talent in the public arena has left many wondering, how far will this go? Is our past coming back to haunt us? Said the girl in the news. The rules were created to eliminate the fear people had when they walked the same streets as Kimio after the war. People could live in peace knowing that Kimio is forbidden to use his talents outside of special places. And service workers who work alongside the authorities are highly valued in trying to promote integration. As a result, cases of discrimination against Kimio have become more frequent. Vigilante crime also increased. Local businesses also refused to serve non-human customers. The newsgirl said again. The murder of Leo Thomas by the now infamous Rokas Rampersad, Leo's former apprentice, is still at large. I have to find Chehart, said some pretty girl. Another ban on Kimio? Mankind tends to abuse the world. They have no idea how to maintain it. Human fear is a hell of a thing. It seems we have forgotten our past. The war was not so long ago in our history, as many want to think. Years ago, Kimyo and people were tearing each other's throats out. The population of Kimyo has grown since its first birth in 1542. With this newfound power, Kimyo's lust for dominance grew. Why should people rule and dictate laws on earth? Since a third of the population was Kimyo, many wished not only to rule, but also to destroy the human race by creating a pure bloodline of evolution. People were forced to unite, all nations united against this common enemy. They defended their land and people throughout this massacre, while Kimyo hunted and killed millions. However, not all Kimyo followed this path. Those who were corrupted were led, influenced and commanded by one man, Cain, father of all rebellion. Cain's power corrupted his mind. There are 150 of the strongest talented users in the world out of approximately 2.5 billion Kimyos. In these series, the first 10 are referred to as the divine level.
If you could subscribe right now, you really help this channel to achieve our goal 1,000 subscribers, and then we will make coolest manhwa for you each day. Thanks for watching and see you in a bit.